Howdy, howdy, ladies and gentlemen. Well, before I get into this video, which relates to what I'm going to say now, I guess. Last night, where I parked, just south of Minneapolis, Minnesota, it got down to, last I checked, negative 55, which is, really fucking cold. That's with the wind chill. Without the wind chill, I think it was like negative 27 or something like that. So with that, I thought I'd make a video on kind of how I deal with the cold, what I do to the truck to, not freeze to death, and kind of some steps I take in case something does happen. That make sure I'm safe while I'm out here in these negative fucking temperatures. It's cold last night. It's supposed to be about the same today, all day. It might warm up a little bit, but not too much. So I thought I'd take you through and show you kind of how I survive it, or how I survived it. Last night I managed to stay pretty warm. If you've been, driving for a little while, you know that, it gets really cold, and some of these trucks start having issues. It could be a brand new truck, it could be a 20-year-old truck. Temperatures like this, it wreaks havoc on equipment. So, there are some preventative steps you can take. One, I know running up north here, like I said in a previous video, I run mostly Wisconsin and Minnesota, so up here they treat their fuel, so they put an additive in that keeps it from gelling up. Diesel fuel, if you don't know, basically anything under 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it starts to kind of gel up, and then as it gets colder, it just more and more until you can't use it. And then you have to have a service guy come out and put some anti-gel in your tanks and replace your fuel filter and prime your truck, and it's an expensive process. So luckily that hasn't happened to me yet. I'd like to try to keep it that way. But so some steps I take is in newer trucks, I know they're not supposed to run. They're designed to shut off. I have a bunk heater in my truck, so I'm not supposed to run the engine. But when it gets this cold, I keep the engine running. I keep it running at a high idle. Last night I kept it at about 1,200 RPMs all night. And that was sufficient to keep the engine warm, and in turn keep my truck warm, and also keeps the tank heaters on the truck on. That's a 2018 Kenworth T680, has heated fuel tanks. A lot of newer trucks do, I think. This particular truck I know does. So keep it running, keep those tank heaters on, and keep the engine warm, because the bunk heater in this truck, it can't keep up with negative 50. It's just unrealistic. This particular one can barely keep up with 0. So I keep the truck running, and obviously, if you're going to keep the truck running all night, make sure you have plenty of fuel. I stopped and fueled up last night before I got to my delivery, so I had plenty of fuel. I used, what's it say over there, about a quarter of a tank last night, between Black River Falls and Minneapolis, and then a little south, and then running it all night. So not terrible. I think it's at 1,200 RPMs, it runs about 1.5 to 2 gallons of fuel an hour, something like that. So you're going to take a hit on your fuel mileage, but you know, for me, it's worth it to take a hit on the fuel mileage as opposed to freezing to death. So, some other things you want to do: keep some like non-perishable canned foods. You know, stuff you don't have to heat up. You know, if something breaks on your truck or whatever, so you can still eat. And you know, extra blankets, definitely extra warm clothes, you know, all that stuff. But you know, definitely want to keep some extra food on the truck. Day before yesterday, which was Monday, we had a massive snowstorm come through, shut everything down. So luckily I hadn't left home yet, so I got to stay home during that. But you know, I'm prepared in case I do, you know, in case I was out or whatever. You know, because if you're stuck either on the side of the road because, you know, of a backup, or, you know, you're in a rest area, or even a truck stop and you can't get out because it's, you know, 2 feet of snow on the ground or whatever, you want to have some extra food and some extra clothes, you know, just so you're not hungry. And back to the truck, running this cold, you'll see a lot of trucks with, you know, the stuff on their, you know, the fabric or whatever on their grills. Me, I don't have the fancy fabric, so I bungeed some, you know, cardboard box under the front of my truck. Works just the same. And basically all that does is it you know, keeps your truck running a little warmer. You know, so it can, you know, not die, basically. So I do that, and then back inside the truck, I also keep a 12-volt electric blanket that I can plug into the cigarette adapter in the back here. So, you know, just when it's really cold like this, this is 11 years, almost 12 years. This is probably the coldest I've dealt with out here. So, but you know, if you take the proper steps, you know, if you're getting fuel from, you know, down south or whatever, and you're heading up this way, you know, buy some fuel treatment and throw it in your tanks, just to, you know, be on the safe side. Me, I like to err on the side of redundancy. You know, yeah, I have tank heaters, so my truck should be okay if I do turn it off. You know, I should, you know, my fuel shouldn't gel up, but with it being this cold, I'd rather just leave the truck running. The only thing that sucks with leaving the truck running all night is now I have to run a regen, which should be finishing up here, but who knows. But, you know, other than that, I like to err on the side of caution when it comes to this, because, you know, I just do. So, other than that, you know, if you're out here, be safe, stay warm, and I'll talk to you guys soon.